Hello again and welcome. Today I'm going to be attempting to turn this piece of mulberry that was very kindly given to me by my friend Russell a while ago. It stands at 17 inches long as it is now and about 7 inches wide at its widest point. It has a lot of growths on it and I don't think they're burrs, I think they're cankers. I don't know until I start turning it because I've never turned mulberry before. The bark area and these protrusions seem to be fairly soft, but the wood itself seems quite hard, but we'll see as we get down. I've got it between steb centres. I've got a steb drive, chuck mounted steb drive in the chuck and a revolving steb centre in the tailstock. I can get it up to about 300 RPM to begin with before the vibration starts to kick in. So we'll just start very gingerly, start moving it down, see what's underneath and make a decision from then. Without further ado, let's get turning this piece of mulberry. So safety gear on, I'm using the Hub Cryo 1/2 inch bowl gouge, 300 RPM, and let's start. Just nibbling away nice and gently. So we've got a bit of a feel for it now, and this could be quite nice, could be quite good when it comes down. So I've decided this is going to be the top of it's going to be a vase, I think. I want to try and get some form of curve on it here, and this is the widest point. So we can go quite narrow here if necessary and still give us that ability there. So it's this end I'm going to be putting the tenon on. So I'm just going to nibble away at it and I'll show you picture in picture to show my body movement, because I'm actually sort of scooping in with the bowl gouge and that seems to be working very well on this piece. So you can see now how I'm going to approach this now. Approach the work, handle fairly low and move my body once I get the cut. And that gives me quite a bit of control when I get through the mountain. So I've got the tenon formed, I've got a nice square shoulder for the front of the jaws to rest on. I'm just going to form a dovetail. That should fit nicely into the jaws. So I've got to a stage now, there's still quite a bit of cleaning out to do here to get rid. I'm down to really hard wood here. There's a lot to do. So what I'm going to do is just face off the top here, square that off, and then off camera I'll get all this sorted out and we'll come back ready to finish the outside, hopefully, and hollow out the inside. There's going to be quite a lot of voids. So I've sanded the piece by hand and power sanded as well to 240 grit. I'm now going to apply Hampshire Sheen pre-thinned sanding sealer, and when that dries I'm going to apply Yorkshire grit, and then when that is cured I'm going to leave it a few days, then I will apply Hampshire Sheen Danish oil, Toy Safe Danish oil. I'll be doing that, it's a bit of an experiment really. I don't know how large the voids are going to be and how much is going to actually remain of what we see here, but it's going to be full of character if it does stay together. So we'll carry on with that. So I'm very pleased how the Hampshire Sheen Danish oil has gone over the Yorkshire grit. Quite pleased with that. There will be quite a few more coats in ensuing days. I want to get hollowing now. Obviously these parts are lower than the outcrops, the burrs here, but what I intend to do is to just take it easy. There will be voids obviously, but I have a feeling that these are all connected, so I should be able to get quite thin, but not much thinner than about, I don't know, well, the thickness of that burr there, for example. Otherwise it'll just all fall apart, but we'll see how that goes. Some cracks which I was aware of are emanating from the pith here. That's why I put it between centres off the pith, but we'll have to see how they fare as I start to go thinner, and they'll need addressing as I go. The worst scenario hopefully is that I'll have to get rid of this lip, but that's not a big problem, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to drill out as much as I can. I'm going to start with my 1-inch auger bit, and as luck would have it, it's going down about 10.5 inches, which is up to the face of the Jacob's chuck. So nice and easy, and let's get moving. Okay, so that's a 51mm hole drilled, which is about 10.5 inches into the piece. One piece of advice, or a tip if you like, when drilling long pieces with Forstner bits, always start the hole off with the Forstner bit without the extension, and then put it in the extension and feed it in, and also go up in increments. I started off with my auger bit for the initial depth hole, which is 1 inch, then I went to 41 and then 51. So it puts less strain on the Forstner bit, and also keep feeding it out to get rid of the swarf and the dust. And the other thing is, be very mindful of your speed. When I'm on a 51 like this, I only have the lathe turning at 250 RPM. just a little tip that might be of use. So I've now set up with the Simon Hope Easy Arm Jig for the hollowing, and I have treated all the small cracks with thin CA to begin with, and then with medium CA, and it all seems to have been successful. So now I'm going to start hollowing. I'm going to be using the 19mm bar with the 6mm cutter, as I say, attached to the Easy Arm Jig. I'm going to be doing everything with this. I'm not using my gouge here because I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. So I'm just going to, I haven't got the laser attached because it is rather off-putting when you've got so much air. So it's going to be a case of cut, measure, and we will be going through at some stage, and we'll just see how it ends up. So that's the hollowing finished. I'm very pleased it's all held together. There is some hand sanding to be done there. I'll use the Extension Pro Sander with the lathe stopped, and to get into these areas. It's not too bad. There's just a few little tool marks there which I'll get rid of, and then it's really a case of just refining the voids here and just making them a little bit rounded as opposed to sharp edges, and I shall be taking it down to about this area here. Before I address this part here, a little design change. I'm not 100% happy with the rim here, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to round over the rim here with a skew chisel, and I've checked the depth here. I've got enough depth, and I'm going to put a bead in here. That's not torn grain, it's just the way it is. It doesn't really show very well, and I'm going to put a bead in there, and then I'll address the bottom, taper it down a bit further, and then oil. And I'm using the rubber chucky cone center here just to give a bit of support in the opening of the piece. Well, that's going to be the final shape, and because the piece has moved a bit, because it's been a couple of days since I worked on it last, there's a little bit of unevenness here, but that'll sand out no problem at all. Just give a light sand up here on the bead and then part him off. I was toying with the idea of a foot, but I don't think so on this occasion. I think it'll just have a flat base. So the Mulberry Vase is finally finished. It stands at just over 13 inches high by about 7 inches at its widest point. Very happy with how it's turned out. I'm glad I went with the bead at just at the base of the lip, because I was considering taking the lip off, but I'm glad I didn't in the end. And I think that just breaks it up a little bit and adds a little bit of character. I've put 2 coats of Hampshire Sheen Danish oil on the outside, 1 coat on the inside. It will take several more coats, and then I shall allow it to cure and give it a buff. But all in all, it was a good project. I have to sand the bottom yet, of course, but nevertheless, it is finished for all intents and purposes. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll put some pictures up at the end, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers now.